sword, which is your default. This is your start weapon. We have a scythe, and then here, what I haven't gotten yet is I like to call it a power glove. And the power glove is that there are areas that have ice around them that, right now I have an ally who's breaking that ice for me, but later on I can go back to areas and using the power glove, I can actually smash through those things.
Right.
And then you can also see that I do have some stuff. If you see on the bottom, it says Chaos Eater, and then that's the name of my sword, but let me open it up. So right now I have, on the right side, you can see the boost that I have added to it.
Right.
So you can basically find a bunch of kind of little artifacts in the world and then choose what to assign to a weapon that gives it something, might give you extra experience or might give you more damage, those kind of things.
Cool. So a lot of people, when they see a game nowadays, they want to know if it has the RPG elements in it, which when we talk about RPG elements, we're talking about leveling up your character, collecting experience, sort of advancing your character as you go through the game. But from what I've seen from that screen, it looks like the weapons advance, but your character yourself isn't like reaching different levels, sort of like Borderlands style or anything.
Exactly. Like your weapon actually, we'll hop back in here real quick. So if you look at the sword, the top ring, you see 2 runes there.
Right.
You can go up to 4 levels. So right now I'm at level 2 in the sword. Just by using the sword and killing enemies with it, I'm getting experience. See on the bottom arc there, that's how much experience I've gained on my way towards level 3. You can see the scythe is almost at a level 1 power. And the powers basically will open up new moves, which you can purchase from a character that you find in the game.
Right.
And then also increases the power as well of that item.
That always makes me think a little bit more of God of War when you're focused solely on leveling your weapons up so that you can do more moves. So when you're leveling up these weapons, does your skill set change? I've seen somebody in the chat mention, all caps, button mashing. Give us a little bit of feel of how the combat actually feels with the different weapons. Is it button mashing? I mean, there's nothing wrong with that for some style of games, but...
Yeah, it's button mashing. I don't know what's wrong with that. I mean, I have to apologize. I've beaten this game, so I've probably played it, 20 hours, and so you kind of get in that set where you just know the moves that work in the game, so it's hard for me to always show off everything you can do because it's just like I know the things that kill things quickly. But yeah, it really is just, it's nothing too complex. There are a pretty good variety of movesets, but at the end of the day, it's like if you can just mash, X and Y, on the 360 or square and triangle on PS3, I mean, you're gonna get through the game just fine.
So explain to me a little bit the health layout that we can see in the top left corner. I see skulls and a health meter. So is it regenerative? How many lives do you get? Are there lives? And if you were to play horribly and bite it right now, would you be able to start somewhere near where you just died?
Yeah, you actually refresh pretty quickly. There's pretty generous checkpoints for death, so I don't think it'll ever get terribly frustrating for anybody if they do suck and die. But the game's pretty forgiving. So right now we're in a quick cutscene, but when you see the health again, up in the right corner, so you'll see 3 tiny little skulls up there, and those little skulls basically are 1 whole bar of that green bar of your health. So every time that health bar goes all the way down, I'll lose 1 skull, and then eventually can refresh it. And just like Zelda, if I find 4 pieces of, instead of a heart, it's a skull.
Gotcha.
But 4 pieces of a skull, it'll basically add an extra little skull meter there for my health, so slowly boosting up my health. And then there's one thing I haven't shown, which is, you'll see in the top left corner right now, it says press LB and right trigger. That turns me into my demon form. This demon form owns everything. I mean, you see I instantly killed that guy.
Yeah, that was one hit.
It was actually a complete waste to do the demon form right there, but I just wanted to show it off. But when you turn into that demon form, I mean, you really just wreck people. I mean, just absolutely wreck them. Also, there is a lock-on, which is just holding down the left trigger. So, the camera kind of can be all over the place, but if you use the lock-on, the you're gonna be fine.
Right, it steadies it out.
Yeah, exactly.
You just made the biggest sacrifice for your viewer. You used your demon form when it was unnecessary.
Exactly, because I love my viewers.
Remember, if you guys have questions, start throwing them into the chat. I'm watching Hill play, enthralled, of course, but I'm going to be answering them for you.
Are you going to answer the questions? Sweet. I'm just going to sit here and play.
With no prior knowledge.
This is the
I'm going to have Hill answer them for you.
So right now I'm actually going to pick up, so there are, just like you'll see in some other games like say Zelda, there are bombs that you can pick up and then use in the environment. So by clicking in on the right thumbstick, I can do my aim, and then I throw the bomb there on that pillar, and there were other bombs there, it ignited them, and then it basically allowed my guy to pass.
And that's what we call a slight puzzle element.
Yes, that would definitely call that a slight puzzle element.
So you said it previously, but somebody's asking how long the main storyline is.
So yeah, I mean, I would say if you actually don't try to find everything and you just want to run through the game, honestly, you could get through this storyline in probably 10 to maybe 12 hours, depending on your skill level. But there are actually a lot of cool collectibles. So if you're one of those kind of people that really likes to go and find stuff like, you never need it, but there are 10 pieces of this abyssal armor, and it looks awesome when you're wearing it, and it makes you almost invulnerable. You definitely don't need it to beat the game, but if you want, you can go and hunt those things down and find them. So that kind of stuff really can add a lot of time to the game, and if you enjoy that stuff, I mean, that's easily 20 hours of gameplay.
And you have a comic book artist working on all the artwork and visuals for this game.
So it's all crazy.
So it's all crazy, and definitely,
Yeah.
if you are a fan of that stuff, you're going to want to see
I mean,
it.
honestly, like Joe Mad is known for drawing giant hands and giant feet. So like he's all about like exaggeration. He doesn't draw anything that's realistic.
Right.
So all the stuff is kind of out there, which is great. There's a lot of really cool design in the game, certainly for the enemies.
So while we're on the topic of storyline, how are the story segments told? Do we jump to cinemas, or is it in-game?
Yeah, they're basically it's none of it's like pre-rendered type of stuff, or where it all uses the in-game engine, I should say. So there's no like CG kind of stuff really, but yeah, a lot of it is a mix of in-game stuff that's happening while you're fighting, and then there's a few moments where there'll be like actual story elements where things stop for 2 or 3 minutes, and you kind of just get to watch a pretty cutscene.
Right.
So right now I'm taking people to task with my awesome gun. This is the first time you ever get to pick up a gun in the game. And so it's the one thing that I like about Darksiders is that honestly, it seems like every hour they just add a little element. Maybe it is an element that only lasts for 30 minutes and you never use it again, but they always seem to add a little element to keep it fresh, which is great because you could definitely get repetitive in a game that's really a button masher. You can also see I'm getting my ass kicked. So
Yeah,
it's
your
embarrassing.
health bar is getting pretty low there.
Well, it just seems like it's time to go skip to another section, Dave.
Let's do that. We'll just assume that you beat the crap out of that section.
Oh
Leave it
yeah,
at
I was
that.
owning those people.
Well, speaking of the storyline, somebody popped in and said, "Are the other horsemen involved?" And I guess kind of reiterate that section you had a helping hand.
He was not a horseman though.
But he was not a horseman, and that doesn't normally occur in the game.
So I don't want to spoil anything because one of the questions actually that's set from the very beginning of the game is, when the apocalypse is brought about because the 7 seals are broken, biblical, look it up, and the horsemen are called forward, but war is the only one that answers the call, and you don't know where the other horsemen are, and that's actually a question that is raised during the game. So I wouldn't want to ruin what happens in the story.
So spoilers. We talked a little bit about Zelda before, and that
This is Epona. This is Ruin, your horse.
he's a little bit more cool because he's got a trail of fire behind him. But yeah, explain the horse, where he comes into play.
Sure. This is actually 9 hours into the game, and this is the first time that you basically recover your horse. So, and when I say 9 hours, I should say that I am one of those people who actually goes and tries to find everything and takes their time and explores and goes through a dungeon and makes sure that I go back and forth and make sure I don't miss a single thing. By the way, I don't know if you saw the screen, but I did just power up my sword in that instant, which is great.
I was looking at a reader question, actually. I'll get to that.
So before I answer the reader question, the cool thing about the horse is really, except for enclosed areas, you can kind of jump on the horse and call it whenever you want, and your sword becomes more powerful on the horse, and you can charge guys, and also you have a gun. The gun's not very powerful, but who doesn't want to shoot a gun while they're on a horse?
Exactly. So maybe before this question, I want to get to this a little bit. What just happened?
So this is a boss basically that for probably about an hour and a half now, I've been dealing with this annoying sand thing that if you step on the sand, it just eats you.
Right.
And you actually have to use this power to slow down time so you can run across the sand and avoid it. And so now that I have my horse Ruin, I almost called him Epona, I can finally actually take on this boss battle, which I will say we're not watching its entirety because it is very, very long.
Okay. Well, I wanted to bring up one of the reader questions in all caps, of course. How many guns? I don't know if that was serious or not. They might mean how many weapons, but you are using a gun right now, so.
There is only one gun.
Okay. And
so it's just left bumper, right bumper, or L1 and R1 to jump back on the horse at any time. I got knocked off. So the point in this, when he charges, you're actually supposed to press the right bumper and then just kind of like burst forward.
Right.
But
Okay.
I failed at that.
And then since you just failed at something, I guess another good question
There you go, I
is
failed again.
difficulty levels.
It's definitely way more difficult if you do something live and talk to people while you're trying to play. I would say if you're going to do that, I'd say this game is probably high, medium, like I don't know. If out of 5, I would say it's a 3.5.
Right.
If you're not going to talk to people while you're playing the game, I would say it's a 2.5.
2.5. So
Yeah.
have medium to low difficulty. You're not going to have any trouble.
I don't think so. I think if you've ever played a game before, you should really not have any trouble beating this game at all. I know that I definitely had no trouble beating it when I wasn't doing a live show and talking to people.
And of course, the question that we always get about
God,
every game
man.
from at least one person,
Suck my nut.